My channel's turned 9! Well, all I can say is bend me over sideways and tickle me with a feather. And that's a very English thing to say. It was an English comedian called Ken Dodd who used to come up with phrases like that. But it's kind of how I feel about being told by YouTube about a week ago that my channel had turned 9. I can't believe I've been recording videos for 9 years and putting them on YouTube. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. It really quite astounds me that I've managed to make it to 9 years. I'm astounded that I've made it to 9 years and you guys are still watching the videos I produce, which I think is incredible, that you still want to watch the videos and you are watching videos, not just the ones I'm recording now, but videos that have been recorded over the last 9 years. They still all get hits on the channel. So there's that. You guys are still watching this stuff. But it's also about how long have I been running this channel. And you put up with me, and you put up with, where are they? These two little Herberts, Sean and Bertie, who are the channel's unofficial mascots. You see them all over the place. There is some very good jokes around what these two are, but yeah, suffice to say, they sort of have been around the world with me. Hence the reason why they're on the channel, because they have been around the world with me. When I've been abroad, when I've been in this country, when I've been up north, when I've been down south, they have been with me. So it's kind of incredible that, you know, this channel still exists. So why did I start this channel? And I've actually tried to stay true to why I started this channel, which was following my separation and subsequent divorce, and rebuilding my love of this sort of stuff. Tap in the SY99 that's sitting beside me. Obviously that's the Core Kronos that's sitting here. There's a rack of equipment sitting here. But my love of this sort of kind of hardware genre, I know lots of people say, oh, it's VSTs or nothing nowadays, but to be honest guys, there's nothing that builds the tactile nature of using one of these things. Yes, they do take up space, yes, they require a degree of maintenance, and that is kind of the core of why I started the channel. Because in setting one of these things up, you know, there's a degree of things you want to go through, a degree of settings you want to put on this, and there's a degree of maintenance, you know, things like just changing a battery on a legacy synthesizer. Because if you change the battery, you lose all your patches, and then you've got to reload all your patches, and there's an art to doing that on some of these synthesizers. So what does that mean? That means kind of you've got to go and look this information up, and I've had to look it up, I've had to work it out, and then I've committed it to film, or to video, should I say, because it is video, it's not film. But I've committed it to video, because if I have to look it up, then you guys who are watching the channel probably have to look it up if you own any of this legacy tech. Or maybe you just like watching me blunder through repairs and settings. But whichever way it looks, that was why this channel was set up, and there is ongoing stuff around repairs that continue to be done by the channel. I probably do 2 or 3 big repairs a year on a synthesizer. I've just finished as a channel the work on my Roland D70, which if you're on Patreon you're already watching that. If you're not on Patreon, that stuff is going to start to hit the channel some point in the new year. And I've also done a series of videos on this beastie that's sitting beside me, which is the Yamaha SY99. And again, those are 2 projects that I've been trying to get around to for quite a period of time. And when I was unemployed during sort of September, October, what I did was I actually got down to actually doing those projects, filming all the repairs that had to be done, filming the cock-ups, and getting them recorded and on video. So those two projects you will see happen in the new year. As I say, if you're a Patreon viewer or if you support the channel via Patreon, you'll be watching those now, because Patreon has gone live with those videos, but the channel won't go live with those videos until some point next year. So, depends on whether you want to wait or not, and depends on whether you'd like to support the channel for $3 a month, which is the price of a cup of coffee. Actually, it's less than the price of a cup of coffee, because I realised that the price of a cup of coffee in the UK now, and this really did surprise me the other day, because I really hadn't taken any notice of it. I did take notice of it when I was unemployed and counting all the pennies while I was waiting to start my new job, because that's one of the things you do. And I then realised that actually a cup of coffee in the UK is about £4, which is more than $3. So, the slogan less than the price of a cup of coffee is actually much less than the price of a cup of coffee. But yeah, that was why the channel was started, to give you an insight on this sort of stuff, the D70, which actually, funny enough, is behind the camera. It's that way. And there will be some videos actually where the camera is turned round and you're looking at the other wall, which has been the dumping ground for the Hobbit hut while I'm still working out how things go. So this end is kind of sorted, but that end is nowhere near sorted. It's been cleared out recently, so I could do some filming that way, because it makes a lot of sense when I want you to see overhead on the synthesizer in here. So you watch out for those videos. Again, if you're on Patreon, you'll start to see those videos crop up before you'll see them on the channel. But what's really interesting about the channel is I was looking at the stats of the channel. So YouTube gives you loads of stats, most of which people will turn around and do videos and say, oh, this is really interesting. But what's really interesting, I find anyway, is the demographic. It's a big word. I've said that a couple of times. It's a big word, demographic. It's a big grown-up word. And although I am grown up, I'd like to think I'm not. Big child at heart, I think, is what I would say. But the demographic of this channel is kind of predominantly male, predominantly 35 and above. Why do I think that's my demographic? Well, firstly, one of the things I realised from my children, their friends and other people from Gen X, Gen Z, is that they've got the attention span of about 10 seconds. And therefore, this kind of long form video format that you're watching this on is something that they probably would get 10 seconds in and think, boring! And that's it. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what Reels and Shorts are all about on these platforms, which is, because they've got the attention span of an app, they can watch a reel in 10 seconds or 30 seconds and think they understand what the hell's going on. And the other thing is that what I tend to find with people of that age group, and I'm making a very generalised assumption here, and probably people will have a go at me for it, is they're far more interested in somebody getting hit in the goolies or the nuts, depending on where in the world you are, falling off something, pets sort of going meow, things that are just, it astounds me what people will watch. But people watch that stuff, and if you watch, look at the reels and you look at YouTube, those sort of things get millions and millions of views, and you just kind of think, is that what we've come to? Anyway, that's one reason why I think my demographic is 35 and above. The second is the demographic that's 35 and above want to know why, not how, but also why. Why are you doing something, and this is how you do it? And that really doesn't fit in the sort of short format. It really fits in more in this sort of long form, because quite often the explanation of why is 2 or 3 minutes of either me talking to camera or me doing something to camera to explain why I'm doing something, and then you move on to the how, which would be another few minutes. Well, it can be many minutes of video actually. I mean, you look at some of the videos I've recently recorded, You know, I've recorded 60 plus minutes of video for each video that might only appear as 15 minutes on camera, or sorry, when I say on camera, on screen. So, you know, you record a lot more video than you actually record, you know, put to screen. The third reason is that synthesizer and electronic music hardware tends to be a very male bastion. I'd like it to be a more evenly split bastion between males and females, but the reality is it tends to be a male bastion. So, you know, there's that. And then kind of fourthly, the thing is that this legacy equipment that I showcase on my channel is kind of resonates with the people that lived through that era. You know, I'm a child of the 70s. I was born in the 70s. I lived through the 80s pop. I lived through the 90s pop. Guitar band, synthesizer, new wave, whatever it happens to be. I lived through that period of time, and all that music, although computers started to become a thing towards the end of the 90s, really all that music was created on one of these things. So, you know, and a lot of people of my age have lived through that creation period, have, you know, if they're musicians themselves, would have been brought up making music that way. Yes, there are VSTs. If you watch the channel regularly, you know my view on a VST. I mean, I will use them, but I prefer to dig one of these out and do whatever I need to do on one of these. Yes, it's a much longer process, but it's far more fulfilling for me to actually play something rather than just sort of hook a VST up. But there are people who will argue the other way around. Now, one of the other things I realised when I was going back and sort of kind of doing this ponderance of, I've been doing this thing for 9 years, is, you know, when I started this channel, there weren't very many people out there that did what this channel does. And now there's a number of other people out there that kind of do what this channel does. And, you know, you can make your mind up whether they do it better or worse. I'm not going to comment on that. But what I will still say is my channel is still the best. And of course I would say that because it's my channel. And on that note, after doing this for 9 years, and I don't intend to stop anytime soon, I will say live long and prosper, and I will see you on the next video.